These are the main reasons why soccer is not part of American culture, according to local journalists. Soccer is elitist and foreign. For Universal Press Syndicate columnist Ann Coulter, soccer is only liked by Americans who watch HBO and vote for Hillary Clinton. Coulter, who became famous for criticizing former President Bill Clinton and once stated that her country would be better off if women could not vote, compares soccer to the metric system of measurements, a foreign invention that American liberals are trying to force on their country only because it comes from Europe. And I have to concede this point to the American right. Despite not being an elitist sport per se, ask any fan, its entry into the United States feels like a commercial success and not a spontaneous cultural phenomenon. If you tune into SportsCenter in the US broadcast, you will find that the soccer section of the newscast is brought to you by Audi, a company that also takes the opportunity to tell you to go to its summer-friendly tournament with Bayern Munich as the main guest. Then, the presenters do their best to understand and explain what an aggregate score is, and present the Premier League goals without replay, as if to say, "That's it, Audi people, now give me my money." For now, the relationship of Americans with soccer feels rather forced, and so does Fox News political commentator Glenn Beck, who on June 11, 2010, lashed out against the World Cup, in which his team reached the round of 16 on his radio show. No matter how they try to sell it, no matter how many celebrities they get, no matter how many bars open early, we don't want the World Cup, we don't like the World Cup, we don't like soccer, and we don't want anything to do with it. It is a sport for immigrants and poor people. This is an argument that partially contradicts the previous one. Dan Gaynor is a columnist with more than 2 decades of experience in the press and a regular guest on Fox News programs. He is also the man who said on a radio show, "Soccer is designed to be a sport for poor men and women." Gaynor claims that soccer is part of a political agenda. According to him, the American left, if such a thing exists, is introducing this sport into the physical education programs of American public schools as part of what he calls the browning of America, a phenomenon that consists of the eradication of the white man in the United States as a product of immigration and miscegenation. Gaynor also attributes barbaric properties to soccer and notes that, unlike soccer games, American football games never end in riots. Then Gordon Liddy, host of the programme in which Gaynor made these claims, complemented his colleague's argument with some historical evidence. This game, soccer, was born among South American Indians, who used the head of an enemy warrior as a ball, completely ignoring the fact that soccer as we know it, like the United States, comes from England. If you're passionate about soccer and love staying informed about everything from transfers to the latest news and cultural stories, like the relationship between the US and soccer, subscribe to our channel to stay up to date with everything happening in the world's most popular sport. Football is collectivist and effeminate. Back to Ann Coulter, who claims that in football, there are no heroes, no losers, no one responsible for defeat. According to Coulter, football soccer lacks moments of individual pressure, like the duel between a pitcher and a batter, or a receiver's race to catch a quarterback's pass. For her, responsibility in football is diluted among the 11 members of the team, who rely on working together to protect their self-esteem. In the same column, Coulter claims that football is a sport in which athletic talent matters little, and in which, unlike American football or hockey, players do not put their physical integrity at risk. In that order of ideas, football is not a spectacle and a metaphor for war, but the harmless game that American housewives want to see their young children play. Has this woman never seen a penalty kick? Coulter probably doesn't know the story of Andres Escobar's own goal, or Zinedine Zidane's header either, nor does he know anyone who would show him headlines like, "The most horrific injuries in football. Is football effeminate? This can only be Neymar's fault." Football is boring. This is perhaps the most popular argument to discredit football in the United States. It is also one that is not exclusive to the far right. In the past, even the writers of The Simpsons have made fun of how tedious football can be. It is also perhaps the most difficult to discredit. Anyone who watches football regularly wonders after a few games if there aren't better things to do with 2 hours of life. Competition from other sports. The United States is a country with a rich sporting tradition, but football has not been one of the main protagonists. Sports such as American football, baseball and basketball have historically occupied the centre of public and media attention. These sports are not only popular, but they are also part of the country's cultural identity, something that football is in the process of building. For example, events such as the Super Bowl or the NBA Finals are major events that concentrate national attention. Lack of history and tradition. Young leagues, Major League Soccer, MLS, founded in 1993, is a relatively young league compared to European leagues, which have more than a century of history. This lack of tradition makes it more difficult to build a historical narrative and cultural identity that connects with fans. Constant changes. Since its creation, MLS has undergone numerous changes in its structure and format, from rule adjustments to rapid expansions. While these changes seek to improve the competitiveness and appeal of the league, they can also lead to confusion and make it difficult to consolidate a loyal fan base. Different rules and styles of play. Although soccer has universal rules, there are differences in the way it is played and organised in the United States. For example, the use of playoffs to decide the league champion may seem strange to purists of the sport, who are accustomed to a regular league format where the title is awarded to the best performing team. Uneven development. Lack of investment in the grassroots. Developing youth talent is essential to the growth of any sport, and soccer in the United States faces a lag in this area. While sports like basketball and American football have well-established development systems at the school and college level, soccer often lacks resources and support. Infrastructure. The availability of quality soccer fields is also a challenge. In many areas, soccer facilities are limited, reducing opportunities for children and youth to play the sport. Casual fans. Variable interest. Interest in soccer among Americans can be inconsistent. Events like the World Cup generate great enthusiasm, but it often wanes once the tournament is over. This makes it difficult to build a loyal, year-round fan base. Lack of commitment. Unlike traditional sports fans in the United States, many soccer fans are less likely to make a long-term commitment to a team or league. World Cup 2026. Expectations and pressure. The 2026 World Cup, which will be co-hosted by the United States, Canada, and Mexico, represents a unique opportunity to boost the development of football in the region. However, it also creates great pressure for the country to demonstrate its ability as a host and obtain significant results in the tournament. Long-term legacy. The true success of this event will depend on the ability of the United States to capitalize on the interest generated and translate it into sustainable growth of football at the national level. This includes investments in infrastructure, youth programs, and the promotion of the sport at the community level. In conclusion, football in the United States faces multiple challenges, but also has enormous potential for growth. With an appropriate strategy, the sport could establish itself as an integral part of the country's sporting culture in the coming decades. Soccer in the United States has a path full of challenges, but also a promising future. What do you think about the relationship between this sport and American culture? We want to read your comments and suggestions. We'll be reading them all.